Did you ever wish you could make an impressive dessert without it taking your entire afternoon? Well, this is a cherry clafoutis, a very delicious rustic dessert. Some cherries, some batter, and the hot oven. Welcome to Gary's Urban Larder. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do is to remove the stems and pit our cherries. We want to remove the stones. So I have a little handy gadget here, and just put the cherry in there, and then you press, and out comes the stone. And it's really that simple. So I've washed these, and I am going to get on and finish pitting our cherries. And then once they're pitted, we will macerate them in some sugar, which I have here, and some limoncello. I don't have any kirsch. You can use kirsch. And then we'll make the batter. We'll butter and sugar our dish, and then we'll cook this. And it is absolutely the simplest dessert that you have ever made. It's rustic, it's delicious, and it's beautiful. You need to learn how to make a French clafoutis. All right, I'll finish doing this and join me in just a sec. Here we've finished pitting our cherries, removing the stems. So all the stones are out. So next we want to macerate our cherries. So I'm just going to transfer these with as much of the juice as possible into a bowl. Put that aside. And we're going to add our sugar, about a quarter of a cup, 50 grams of granulated or caster sugar. And I've got some sugar reserved here for our dish. And I'm just going to splash on a bit of the limoncello. Again, you could use kirsch, only about a tablespoon or two, not a great amount. And we want these to macerate. We want these to release their juices. So we want these to sit for at least 2 hours, I recommend. And so you can do these overnight. It just gives you a nice liquor, a syrup that comes from that, which will be beautiful in your clafoutis. So I think I first made a clafoutis more than 20 years ago. And I used grapes, actually. And I worked in a concern downtown Chicago, a design-based business. And the vice president for the Chicago office was there, and he happened to be French, Francois. And I brought in this dish, and he said, "Gary, is that a clafoutis?" I said, "Of course it is." And he said, "I haven't had a clafoutis since I was a kid." So it really evokes a lot of childhood memories of the French countryside, rustic and delicious. So again, we're just going to let that sit and macerate. And while that's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and just prep our dish. And I just have some soft butter. And I'm just literally just going to smear that on the plate, on the dish. And what we want to do next is add our sugar. And we're just going to shake that sugar around the dish to coat it, much like you would do a souffle, a sweet souffle. So that's ready, and we'll just set our cherries into the dish when that's ready. Now I'm just going to clean my hands. I should mention this isn't my recipe. This is a recipe by the great Raymond Blanc, a wonderful chef, French chef. And I'm just going to combine a pinch of salt into our batter just to round out the flavor. About 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I'm just going to whisk that to combine. Now, I know that Raymond. Raymond's recipe calls for you to beat the eggs separately. I'm not going to do that. I've tried to make that as simple as forward. It takes 2 egg yolks, 2 whole eggs. So I'm just going to separate 2 eggs, saving the whites for something else, meringue or something. And that goes in along with the 2 whole eggs. I'm just putting those in the center of our dry ingredients. And now I'm just going to break those up and start to mix that together. And it's like making, almost like making a crepe batter or pancake batter. And as I said, this is sort of a marriage between a custard and a pancake. So a nice romance, a French summer romance. And add our vanilla. And that's combined just by whisking it in. And I mean, you could put this in a blender and do it, but honestly, it is so simple. Why use a machine when you can do it so easily by hand? So I'm just going to add, this is effectively half and half. It's equal parts whole milk and heavy cream. So I'm just going to combine that. And there is our batter for our clafoutis. Now all we have to do is add our cherries to the dish, pour over our custard pancake mixture, and put it in a hot oven, 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 Celsius, for 35 to 40 minutes. And halfway through, we will sprinkle some additional sugar on top to get it that extra little crunch. It'll be delightful. So do not go away. Stay around to the end. Our cherries have macerated, and now we're just going to add them and the juice to our dish. And I have a little dish that I'm going to use just for me, even though I have to say I'm not a big fan of cherries. We had a cherry tree in our backyard when I was a little boy, and my grandmother would make cherry pies and preserves and everything from cherries, and I just wasn't a fan. I have had one experience with a cherry pie that was made for me by my friend Larry back in Indiana. And Larry was absolutely sure that I loved cherries. And it was at the end of a dinner he had made. I was there visiting from Europe, from London, and he and his wife, he made his wonderful dinner. And he says, I've got a special surprise for you for dessert. And he brought out this cherry pie. I said, Larry, I don't like cherries. He's like, really? I thought you loved cherries. I said, but I tell you what, because you've made it, I'll try it. You know what? That was the best cherry pie I'd ever had. And I haven't had one since. So we'll see if this Clafoutis changes my mind. So the cherries and juice are in there, and I'm just going to pour our batter over the cherries. Now this is going to rise up. I'm going to do a little one as well. And it will rise up and then it will fall back, much like a souffle or a Dutch baby, I'm told. So we're going to put this in our oven, and halfway through we will sprinkle a little more sugar on top. So there they are. They're ready for our oven. Let's get them in there. Taken the clafoutis out of the oven, and I've dusted it with some powdered sugar, including the small one, and it smells amazing. I probably left it in a slightly bit too long. It is settling, but it's time to taste. So I'm going to taste the small one, And I'll let you know how I get on with the cherries. So it really has a lovely, lovely texture. It's very hot, but I have to say, I don't mind it. For those of you who love cherries, I'm sure this will be exactly what you want. For me, certainly I'll eat it and enjoy it, but I might wait another 10 years to have some cherries. Well, thank you for joining me today at Gary's Urban Larder. If you enjoyed today's recipe, please give us a like. Remember to subscribe to the channel and to ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single delicious recipe. And finally, please share this video with your friends. It helps to build the channel and our community. Well, until next time, bye-bye. One more bite. I have to say that the juice is really good.